Okay, we've got part two of the Canon EOS R rumors and speculation for 2020. I've got some Canon rumors websites open in front of me, and I've had a look at some of the latest rumors, and I thought we'd go through them one by one to have a look at how likely they are to eventuate in this year's updated EOS R. The first thing that's come about is a suggestion that they're going to call it the EOS R5, and it's going to be potentially carrying a 45 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor, which is consistent with my previous rumor of the sensor being updated to anywhere from 45 to 70 megapixel. I think it's very likely that they'll go as high as 45 megapixel, but they certainly won't go anywhere near that 70 megapixel range that was previously speculated. In terms of the naming convention though, I can't see a need for them to change this model altogether and call it an R5. If anything, it's going to create market confusion. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think they'll maintain the consistency with their naming conventions and call it a Mark II. And then when that's updated, a Mark III and so on. They've done really well in branding the EOS R. It's established itself as a really credible mirrorless camera, albeit with some omissions that they're going to take care of in this update. But I don't see a need to change the name in any way whatsoever. The next one is IBIS. We discussed this in the previous video. It's very likely because of all the criticism that they've faced for not including in-body image stabilization in the previous model, that they are going to have IBIS in this latest generation. We're looking at 5 stops of IBIS alone and 7 to 8 stops when used in conjunction with a lens that has image stabilization, which is going to be amazing for still photographers shooting at low light. To get up to 7 or 8 stops really means that you're going to be able to walk around without a tripod, even for low light photography. And for cinematographers, being able to do handheld video is certainly going to be a great advantage with IBIS on the EOS R Mark II or R5, whatever they end up calling it. The next is the frame rate. We're going to see an increase there up to 12 frames per second mechanical and 20 frames per second electronic. This is very likely. And they're suggesting that there'll be a new scroll wheel added to the back that will potentially add to or even replace the touch bar. I think that's unlikely. I know a lot of people weren't entirely happy with the touch bar, but I can't see Canon giving it up so early. There might be some improvements to the touch bar, the usability, the look and the feel to it, maybe the placement, but I'd hate to see it be removed too early when in fact I think it's a really nice ergonomic feature. The next rumor is about the 4K capabilities of the brand new EOS R. As I mentioned in the previous video, it's very likely to see an improvement in 4K, that we'll see a 4K recording mode without crop. And that was one of the things that was highly criticized, given that Sony was able to produce a camera that gave us 4K recording with no crop. As I've always said, this is not a major issue. It's not a deal breaker. I'm shooting in 4K at the moment, and I've just had to make sure that I shoot with the right lens in order to accommodate for that crop. Having a crop factor doesn't affect the quality in any way, but it can be annoying. So I think Canon will very likely address this. They're suggesting on the rumor site that we're going to see 4K no crop at 60 frames per second, which is an increase from the current limitation of 30 frames per second. And I agree with it. I think that we really need to see 60 frames per second for those of you doing action cinematography. But there's also a suggestion that we're going to go all the way to 4K 120, which I personally think is very unlikely in this next generation. And there was even a suggestion of 8K 30 frame in RAW. That is most likely not going to happen. There's a number of reasons for that. First of all, technically, to be able to get 8K recording in the small body that is an EOS R, whether it's a Mark II or R5, I just don't see happening. Secondly, from a marketing point of view and a sales point of view, to put such a high specification in a mid-range mirrorless camera that's kind of in the prosumer segment would kind of cannibalize anything they do at the top line. And certainly they haven't even got that capability in their cinema cameras or anything super high end. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I don't think we're gonna get anywhere near 8K video recording on a brand new EOS R. The final rumor was a new battery that will still have the same compatibility with the LPE6, but an updated battery. And I think this is very likely, given that the 4K recording, if it is improved to 60 frames per second, is going to be very taxing on the battery. Currently, when I'm shooting in 4K, I'll only get half an hour of recording on a good day, as opposed to 1 hour or beyond when I'm shooting in 1080p. So if they do improve the 4K capability of the camera and even the frame rate to 12 frames per second, I think they're going to need a more powerful battery, and it's very likely that this rumor will hold true. So they're the latest rumors and speculation on the Canon EOS R. As always, take these rumors with a grain of salt because they're only rumors, only speculation, so no one actually knows what's going to eventuate in 2020, but it is very likely that these will be announced in late February, and we should see some kind of update by the middle of 2020. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to hit me up with a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll be notified of up and coming video releases. See you on the next one. Bye for now.